There are some absolutely miserable billionaires. There are some awful dads who are billionaires. There are some really ripped triathletes with terrible family lives.
You're listening to Let Me Speak to a Manager with Frank Cava and Ian Matthews.
What a crock of shit.
Yeah, that was hot mic, Sam.
It's 30 minutes away. I'll be there in 10.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Frankie!
Ian, you punctual son of a bitch.
Frankie, you got the trucker look.
I do. I got on the little denim with the little the hat. I like this hat. It reminds me of Tom Petty for some reason.
Did you get it at a Tom Petty concert?
No, I bought it at some bougie sweatshirt place in Los Angeles a couple of years ago.
Paid like $300 for a trucker hat?
I definitely didn't pay $20.
Frank, lead us into this episode. I'd like everyone to know, for the record, Frank put the agenda together today, so I'm very excited. I actually don't know what we're talking about. He's done the whole outline, so prepare to have your minds blown.
So let's start here. Management 101 from the management guru himself, 514 Group's Ian Matthews. Here's what I get at 2:32 yesterday. Outlines all yours. Don't have time this week. That's it. No, please. No, thank you. Like, that is not going to work with nearly anybody on earth.
Let me just ask, out of 165 episodes we've done, how many times have you said thank you when I put together 155 of
erroneous?
Erroneous? You've never once thanked me for that. You
Untrue.
SOB?
That is completely untrue.
Hey, I would like to say thank you for doing an outline, for God's sakes.
Fair enough. But it's like, I read that, I'm like, in what world does this message work?
In our world. I didn't have time this week.
There's a really funny quote that we have with me and Nickel, and it's from 2013 or 14, right? So I was trying to set something up for our triathlons. I was getting the house and the car and booking all this different stuff. And it was Nickel, it's Murph, it's like this whole group of people who are very, very hard to deal with. And they're all just breaking my balls, like, constantly. And this is all in a Voxer. And I literally replied with, do you understand who I'm dealing with and how hard this is to deal with? And all Murph replied was, who you're dealing with? We're the easiest people on earth to deal with.
What is this supposed to mean?
He completely missed the message. So we're going to use some visuals here and talk our way through it. Like if you listen to a syndicated television show and radio show, it's harder for the radio audience. So this will probably play really well on YouTube. We'll share our screen. So it's the annual kind of kickoff time of the year. And we've got a pretty big year in front of us with my core business. And in order to achieve the goals that we need to achieve, we need everybody's help and buy-in. So I was trying to think of a way to show everybody how important it is to kind of work as a group and to work together. But it's hard to do that when you're not trying to put someone on blast and you're trying to figure out a way to kind of communicate to teams and say, I really need you, because if we're all driving on the same vehicle, if one of the wheels pops or is flat, it's going to be a bumpy ride. Ian has built an entire career with corporate culture and corporate coaching. And it's very, very much critical to have everybody kind of rowing in the same direction and working together. So I tried to think of an elegant way to do this. Do you want to kind of talk through like what you're talking about with people right now and what's important for the year?
So just to give everyone a little bit of context, we did an episode 4 months ago, so I think it's worth tooting Frankie's horn again, where we talked about raising capital to attack an underserved part of the Richmond housing market, which is the affordable dwelling unit policy that we just created. So affordable dwelling units are subsidized housing, Section 8 housing for people, that are struggling to find an affordable rent. And Frank is taking a number of his lots, and it's probably going to be about 30 in this first deal that we do. So Frank is taking a number of his lots, and we are splitting the lots. We are getting them permitted so that we can build an extra property on the same lot, and so go from 1 rent to 2 rents. So it's an incredible opportunity from an investment perspective. It's going to be about $15 million, but we needed to raise $2.5 million of private capital. Frank and I were just talking before this episode. We have $2.5 million secured. In fact, we have close to $3 million secured, and we haven't talked to 2 of the richest people that we're talking to. So we're ready to go. Why this is important for Frank to tell everyone we need to get rowing on the same thing is, unlike when Frank goes and, let's say, gets a hard money loan or goes and takes out some commercial debt. Okay. Commercial debt is not an emotional, it's not personal. It is very transactional based. Listen, you're going to perform or I'm going to take the assets. Real simple. That's it. Like, it's personal to Frank. Don't get me wrong. That's his credit. Sometimes he has personal assets tied to it. But when we go raise private capital, these are from people that trust us. These are from people that respect us. These are from people where our personal brand matters. And, I'm not saying the rest of your 300 properties in your portfolio don't matter as much, but these kind of always matter a little more to you. I know that because you know who I'm raising money from, and they're people that you don't really want to disappoint, sometimes family. And so setting the tone of getting everyone on board, there are people that are working for Frank, and I've met a few of them that were not involved in the last couple of deals that we did. They weren't involved in the Westwood deal. They weren't involved in the RVA 75 deal that we did. And so I think resetting the importance of this as a strategic opportunity, and not only is it 30 properties, it could end up being 300. If we do this well, we can repeat it, we can rinse it. It's an exciting business opportunity. So the why behind why you would want to get everyone on board with something like this and pulling the same way, it is so important to explain why we do things, right? You go back to like Southwest Airlines. The reason why they kicked everyone's ass as a low-cost airline is they really had a mission where we want to make airline travel affordable to everybody, not just the richest people. And everyone who started in that company was like on board with that mission of taking cost out. Same thing with Frank. He is starting with why.
So before I get into the why, I'm going to ask kind of a history question. Do you know what the 6 simple machines are in human history?
Ooh, are we going back to Galileo here?
We're going back a ways. I actually think it goes back further than Galileo, but what are the 6 simple machines?
Why don't you tell everyone, because I'm going to screw it up and then my engineering credentials are going to get hit. How about a lever? Can we start with a lever and a fulcrum?
Number 1 on the list, Ian, lever.
Yeah. There we go.
So here they are. There's a lever, there's a pulley, there's an inclined plane, there's a wedge, there's a screw, and there's a wheel. So going back to the dawn of time with human beings, depending on what you read, the Bible to history, we've been around for somewhere between 2,000 years and 100,000. So to that end, when we started to make real differences, we started to use simple machines. So levers, like how did you move Stonehenge? They used simple machines and power back then. So one of the most important inventions in human life is the wheel. And Ian talked about the importance of this deal. This deal is also important for my company because it involves every department. We can't do it if we don't have a strong admin side on the finance. We can't do it if we don't have really, really strong construction administrative work and making sure the permits are ready, all the houses meet the criteria. This is not easy. We need the construction department to work really well. But we're building these in the backyard of houses that are already having residents in place. So property management needs to get involved. Your
property management needs to reach out to all the people who are currently renting on those properties and say, listen, this is what we're fixing to do. Are you okay with it? And if they're not okay with it, deal with that situation, because collecting rents is an incredibly important part of real estate investment.
100%. Like we currently are right around 7% vacancy, which is high, but this is usually how it happens. It's a tough economy. People haven't gotten their tax returns yet. Like this is how things work, right? So the reason I bring this up is in the evolution of the human species, we figured out 6 simple machines to make our lives easier. And the biggest one, I would say, is most likely, I would say the wheel is really, really important because you can't really move or get leverage over something if you don't have the ability to have a wheel. So in my business,
I'm a fan of the wedge because it has a second use and that it's a delicious starter in a steak restaurant.
Also quite true.
A little bit of bacon, some blue cheese. It's a delicious way to kick it off.
Ed and I are big fans of anything that has to do with food. So let me share this and I'll show you kind of how we got here. This is our hub and spoke model. And the way our hub works, for those of you that aren't seeing this, real estate acquisition strategies in the middle, and that's our direct to seller marketing and advertising. Off of the wheel or off of the center, we have fix and flips, wholesales and lots, rentals, retail listings, apartments, and offices. So those are what's called hub and those are the spokes. Past the spokes, we have other things like property management and headhunting and branding. And we have a department called Cava 360 where we fix kind of sale inspection items for people. They're not part of the core business, but our core business allows us to do these types of things. And then it gets even further, right? There's like the business and staff and subs, there's personal, there's legacy, there's family, there's community. This is what you go to from the very, very beginning of what the core of the business is all the way out. E&U's Southwestern Airlines, that's one. This is kind of how we look at the world. So what I wanted to kind of show up with, and I'm going to have Ian do this, is right here. So Ian, grab yourself a piece of paper. And if you're listening, please grab a piece of paper because we're going to do this together. Ian's going to do it, and I'm also going to do it with you.
This is the Wheel of Life assessment tool.
It is also found through some half-assed internet research, and I figured this out. I actually learned this many, many years ago, 25 or so years ago, in a book I read. So I thought this was really, really cool. So Ian,
is this like your guy who did the Seasons of Life?
This wasn't him, but
no. Okay, so who are we giving credit for the Wheel of Life assessment tool?
You're going to see it on the next slide.
Okay.
Before we get into it, so first things first, draw a line. Top of the page, down.
Done.
Got it. Is in this. Now you're going to draw a very complicated line left to right.
Okay. Then we have a matrix now. We have an X and Y axis.
That's correct. Now you're going to go top right to bottom left.
Okay.
And then you're going to go top left to bottom right.
Got it.
And that will give you 8 little pieces of pie. So now you just draw a circle around it. And it does not have to be perfect. And you can see I spent at least 11 seconds in PowerPoint building this. All right. So let's go to the next piece. So you got your little slide. So if you look at it, this is from creativityatwork.com. That's where I started.
If you are imagining this, my paper looks like a pizza with 8 slices.
100%. That's exactly what it should look like. Now, if you go and type in Wheel of Life assessment tool, you will find somewhere between 3 and 9 million examples. I picked one that I thought worked well for my company, would work well for Ian and me. And here are the 8 slices of pizza or 8 categories. So they are career, finance, personal or professional growth, health, family, relationships, social life, and attitude. And the last one is careers first. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go into career and we're going to rank it between 1 and 10. And then what you're going to do is 1 is all the way at the center. And if you look really closely, Ian, you'll see the numbers 1 through 10. And then you're going to kind of, if you think your career is a 1 or you think your career is a 10 or if it's a 7, you're going to kind of measure across. The way that I look at it is this when I score these types of things. If I'm breathing, I'm probably not a 0. But unless I can walk on water, I'm probably not a 10. So if something is kind of average, to me, it's a 5 or a 6. If it's above average, it probably is a 6 to an 8. And if it's a little bit below average, it could be like a 4 to a 5, if something along those lines. Now, if it's abysmal, it is something that is going to be a little bit lower. So the way that I look at this, the first thing is rank career 1 to 10. All right, Ian, tell me when you're done. Draw a little line. Good?
Yeah.
So second is going to be finance. Are you a 0 to a 1? Or are you somewhere between like an 8 and a 10?
Okay.
Next is personal growth.
Yep.
All right. Next is health, somewhere between a 0 and a 10 with health. You're currently alive, so I wouldn't put you to 0, but you decide on where you think that is.
Okay.
Next is family. So these are complicated scoring systems. I'll tell a funny story. I did not get married till I was 42. I was under the misconception that if you are married and has a family, your life will get easier. I realized pretty quickly that that is not in fact the case. Adding more people to the equation never makes things easier. I was at my grandmother's 90th birthday party and I made the brilliant decision to bring my 3.5, 4-year-old son, and he was pretty willful. And he ended up locking himself in a bathroom at my grandmother's 90th birthday party. We couldn't get him out. He was crying, it was fairly stressful. This lasted for about 15 minutes. I just said to the guy that owns the restaurant, I'm like, I don't know what to do here. I think I got to break this door. He goes, yeah, man, just break the door. So I broke the door down on the bathroom at my grandmother's 90th birthday party. About a half an hour goes by and someone who's known me for 30 years walks up and goes, I've never seen you happier. I was stressed out and a mess. I don't know if I was happy. But the thing I can tell you is I have a lot more reward because I have a family of my own than I did before. So again, these things aren't necessarily easy to rank, but I would say my family situation is significantly better today than it was 15 years ago when I was single. So I filled that out accordingly. Next is relationships, 0 to 10. Next is social life. And last is attitude. So you should have 8 lines going from left to right.
Attitude?
Attitude.
What the hell does that mean?
I don't know. You're the one who's the wordsmith of the group. What do you think attitude is? Like, I would think it's kind of a byproduct of everything else we talked about, right? Like, how do I feel? What's the inertia of my life? What's my attitude?
Are you saying like happiness? What is attitude?
I think it can be however you reflect it. Like, how do I approach the day? Am I usually positive? Am I usually neutral? Am I usually negative? How do I find myself showing up? Do I need
What
to be
if I'm just as big a prick as I've always been? Should I just say 10 for attitude because I'm a prick? I don't understand that. Like that's my attitude about everything. I'm a prick. I've been being pretty good at it too, as you all can hear on the show every week with Frank.
So
am I a 10 or a 1? Is it how others sense my attitude or how I feel about it? Because I think I'm doing a good job of being me. I'm a prick.
let's call it a 4.
Or is that like general happiness, like going about my day? Like I don't understand. Attitude confuses me a little. That's the only one I didn't get.
I think this is a wonderful segue. If you're struggling this much with the answer, it's probably closer to a 0 than it is to a 10.
If you said happiness, I'm like 10. I'm so content and happy. Like that's why I'm just confused on it.
So let me show you how I rank myself. So first is finance. I gave myself an 8. Second is personal growth. I gave myself a 9. For health, I gave myself a 7. For family, I told you the story. It isn't easy, but I feel pretty good about it. I gave myself a 9. On relationships, again, I gave myself a 9. I consider like my relationship with Ian up there, my family, my friends, those types of things. The one I ding myself on is social life. I gave myself a 5 because most of my friends are remote. I don't have a big social life here in Richmond. My friends are all over the country, and I focus a lot of time on work and a lot less time on doing things locally. I'll travel to do that. So that number is a little low for me. I gave myself an 8 on attitude because I feel like most of the time I show up with a pretty good attitude. And even when things are pretty screwed up, I've usually got a pretty positive way to look at it. And then the last one is career. And I gave myself on career, I also gave myself a 9. So I feel pretty good about it. So if you look at it, that's kind of my wheel. And then before we have Ian reveal his, this is what I did. It's hard to do this, but I colored it in the best I could with some black. But if you look at it, it's mostly a wheel. But if you look at social life, for example, and the difference between attitude, which is an 8, and relationships, which is a 9, with social life is a 5, every time you get to that part of the wheel, it gets pretty damn bumpy. So I thought this was a good way to kind of represent looking at your own personal life and kind of how you get there and kind of working together as a group. And the more balanced you are across many different parts of life, the smoother your life is going to be. Do you want to show us what you've got kind of colored in and hold it up?
Yeah. So I went finance 8, career 8, personal growth 8. I'm still confused on attitude, so I'm just going to give myself a 9 there. I'm pretty happy every single day. I don't have bad days. So I would say my attitude's really good. I like my life a lot. My social life, so I'm kind of confused on this as well. My social life is sometimes non-existent, but that's by nature. I have lots. So relationships, I gave myself a really high score here. I gave myself a 9 or a 10. I have a lot of friends in town. I am the guy who is always finding a reason to not go out because I'm kind of introverted. And so when you say my social life, yeah, a lot of Fridays I choose to skip going to Bear Branch Tavern with a crew of people that are going out because I'd rather sit and watch some Netflix with Jenny or the kids, but that's a choice. So I don't know, like, should I be docking myself for not being more social? Or is that just is my social life, am I happy with my social life?
There's no wrong answer, and it's up to you. It seems to me as if your social life and my social life are similar, right? Our social lives were a lot better when we were like in our third or fourth year of college.
I got 2 teenage kids and a wife, and 2 businesses that I'm trying to keep busy. So like my social life isn't that much, but I'm also 49 years old and I'm not chasing more of it. I did that in my 20s. I'm good.
Kind of like Sebastian Maniscalco says, at this point in my life, I'm not adding new friends. I'm kind of subtracting. So I think if you look at it, your lowest score is what, a 6? And your highest score is a 10?
Yeah, like the only place where I really docked myself, and this is interesting, I docked myself on health, but that's also a little like I don't have any chronic pain. I've had back problems before. When you have back problems, like
They suck.
nothing else in your life is good. Your attitude is shitty. Like
Yeah.
all the happiness is gone when my back hurts or if I tweak my knee or hurt it. So my health is generally good. Do I want it to be a lot better? I think that's one thing that if I look at this year, I spend an awful lot of time doing this, sitting on my ass, looking at a camera almost all day. This the way I've set my life up. So would I like to get out and get more sunshine during the day? I need to schedule more time to get back out on the trail, get walking. I think I would I think health, I would ding myself. And so when I look at the wheel, it inverts there
Yeah.
because, you could always want better health. And so I think a lot of the things, the career, the finance, the personal growth, I think a lot of especially the family, because those are so high, my health is not nearly what it could be if I was like all in on my health.
100%. I think if you look at it from this perspective too, Ian and I are both former executives. We own businesses. Like if you look at kind of the K-shaped economy that we're in, people who make a little bit less money are having a harder time dealing with things, and people who are on the upper end of the economic curve are doing a little bit better. Ian and I are both arrogant enough to think that we have enough value that we are doing our own podcast, for God's sakes. So to that end, I think we are fairly balanced, and we have our baseline is pretty high. I think if most people looked at our finances from the outside looking in, they would think we were 10s, not 8s. But we are pretty harsh on ourselves, right? So there's no right answer here. It's personal. But the point of it is, if you have 2 or 3 2s and some 10s, you need some balance in your life, or you're going to have a very bumpy ride. From
Yeah.
my perspective, the way that I look at this, my median score is about a 7.5. So I have a pretty balanced life going through things. Now, I did this for the first time when I was 25. My fitness was a 10, but my finances were a 3. So I can tell you, even though it's kind of like you look at Michael Jordan, he wasn't the same athlete at 40 as he was at 20, but he was quite good at 40 because he could use his brain. So this is a really interesting way, I think, to kind of look and take a good stock of where you are and to understand, hey, there's more than one component of life where I put focus, I'm probably going to get a better result. And where I am negligent, or as time kind of changes, I might not be able to perform as well. But you can kind of understand that and manipulate your own life and put your focus where it needs to be so you can be more optimal.
So really it's a tool. It's a tool to kind of highlight where you should prioritize. So a lot of times when I talk to folks about how do I prioritize my time, how do I manage my time, I always come back to the Eisenhower matrix of, you need to figure out what's important to you, not to other people, and you need to figure out what's urgent to you, what you need to, and that always leads to what are you going to stop doing? What
Yep.
will you stop doing? And so, this wheel, if you were to say finance, okay, finance is lower than I would like it, right? And so I like what you said there. Yeah, we said 8s. That anyone growing up in my hometown of Trenton, if they had my finances, would trade me in a second. But to me, like, I don't know, I wouldn't work at all if I was a 10 is the way I look at that. Like, right, why am I still working at all if I don't think one, I find it productive, but I, you know, I always think I could have a little more. I always think I could chase a little more. I could always be a little more secure. I could leave a little bit more to the kids one day. I think there's a lot of that goes through your head. So you have to be the one that defines it. But the cool thing about this wheel is, when I look at it, it says, okay, 2026, if I'm going to set some kind of a resolution, what should it be? All right, get outside, get more sun, get on the trail more, right? Like health seems to be the thing that you are not as high as the rest of it.
So the way that, think about where this is a framing mechanism. Our company runs on a hub and spoke, which leads to a wheel. What I wanted to show people is we need to be a little bit self-aware. If we're not self-aware about what's going on inside of us, there's no way we can be macro and talk to people on the outside or work in a way that we're going to function really well as a group. One of the wheels is flat. One of the divisions isn't working well. If we have 3 great wheels and 1 rectangle, it's going to be a bumpy ass ride. But instead of pointing fingers and doing it that way, I wanted people to inflect what it was like for them and how they are in 8 different categories. And again, you can pick different categories that are right for you. And from there, you look at it, okay, this is how it is for me. And then I can go back to the macro of how we work together as a group.
I think some of these things also go hand in hand. If you're saying, "Hey, listen, my family's not going that well, but my finance or my career are cranking. I gave myself a 9 or a 10 on career right now and a 4 on family." All right, you got to ask yourself, does family matter to you? Well, if it does and it's not going well, can you sacrifice a bit on career? Do you need to work a little less? Do you need to pull off a little bit? If you're saying, "Hey, I'm a 7 or 8 on finances and my health is terrible," well, what would you pay for good health?
That's right.
Maybe you need to work a little less. Maybe you need to spend a little less time worrying about your money and get out and put your running shoes on and get out and start running a little bit more.
What was really awesome about this, I did this on Monday with my team call, and I asked everybody in the company if they'd ever seen this. And this is at least the third time I've talked about it. And half of them, 3/4 of them put their hands up. They'd never seen it. So clearly they're very much paying attention on Mondays. But there's a saying, repetition is the mother of all skill. And most of us need to see things more than once. What was awesome is I walked around the office yesterday and I saw 4 of these hanging up in people's cubes. Like, it's pretty cool. I asked at the end, like, who's the first time they've ever gone through this exercise and who has an ability to kind of analyze their lives differently than they did an hour ago? And everybody's hand went up. So this is just a tool that you can use to do a self-assessment. I do a couple of self-assessments every year on my birthday. I take an IQ test every year on my birthday to see if my shit's slipping. I swear it, I do. So like it depends on what it is that you're trying to kind of measure, but it's really good to have a couple of these things that you go back to over time and you pay attention to them. And again, I've known this about myself and learned this when I was, I think, 25 or 26. And I've used it over the years, and I can go back and look at what I look like at 26 versus what I look like at 30 and 40 and today. And social life is down. Who cares? My family is way up, and that has more value to me than having a high social structure. And social doesn't mean as much. I've got my team. Like on Friday nights, we stay home and shoot each other with Nerf guns. And I'm the happiest I've been all week. But I'm not out at the bar. I'm not socializing, meeting new people, but that's okay. That's the serious.
That's what I meant when I was asking you, like, whose definition of social life? Because my social life of going out and hanging out with friends is non-existent, but I still score myself pretty high because I actually love my social life right now. So I don't want to be out of my house too often on the weekends.
The most important thing in all this is it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It matters what you think. It's your it's your system. It's your scoring system. It's your life. So you rank it the way you rank it and calibrate it over time. And if you're a 3 in health and you are a 9 in family, well, you clearly put a lot of effort into family. It's probably time to pull back a little bit on that and put a little bit more time into health so you can be around a lot longer. It's just something that kind of exposes 8 elements of life. And again, if you don't like these 8, change them. Use whatever 8 you want. Like faith might be up there for you, something along those lines. So manipulate it the way it makes sense, but the overarching goal is break your life into components and realize you cannot have a smooth ride through life if you got a bumpy ass wheel.
Only other things that I'll add to this, to Frank's wheel of life. When you answer these questions, it's not going to be helpful. Any self-assessment, and I do self-assessments for 5-on-4 group all the time. When we did it with Frank, if you recall that episode, Frank would start to answer it one way, and I'd say, answer it the way that 5 people closest to you would. And he would change his mind. He would change the answer sometimes. You have to be careful.
The conversation was, I'm easygoing, right? No.
Exactly. So when you do an assessment like this, when you go to the doctor, it doesn't help to lie to the doctor. The doctor's like, if you're trying to really get healthy and the doctor's like, how much do you drink? And you're drinking 2 bottles of wine a day and you're like, occasionally. You're not helping yourself. Why'd you even go to the doctor? He can't help you if you're not truthful. I think it's the same with self-assessing yourself. As I'm looking at your questions and the way you put this together, would my family rank my attitude as an 8 or a 9? Right? If I'm saying family is that important to me, where I would give it an 8, 9, 10 in my life right now, which is everything to me, would my family say that my attitude was good? Would my family say that my health is good? Would my family say that money is good? Or am I always being, right? Are those things kind of coming into our life where I seem to be worrying about money a lot? Well, then you're not really assessing yourself honestly, and this wheel's not going to work if you just pump up all these numbers to something. You're going to look at it and be like, oh, look, perfect wheel. I'm great. that is right. That's confirmation bias. That's your mind trying to avoid cognitive dissonance. So a way to think about it is, what would the 5 people closest to me score me on these 8 different slices of pie?
Yeah. And what kind of pie is it? Is it key lime? Is it coconut cream? Is it
This made me think of like a Lombardi's pepperoni.
Ooh, that's also a
up
good one.
in Little Italy. That's what it made me think about. It made me want to eat more pizza, which is just going to make my health bar go lower on my pie. But if you're going to do that, the other thing I would just say is, everything in life is about trade-offs, and that whole pie is about trade-offs. There are some absolutely miserable billionaires. There are some awful dads who are billionaires. There are some really ripped triathletes with terrible family lives because they spend their whole goddamn day running and working and no one ever sees them, right? So you can go a little too all in on some of these areas, and it's going to impact something else. Just like in anything in time management, saying yes to something is saying no to something else. And because the one thing that all of us have, no matter where we're born, how much money we have, what our career is, we all get 24 hours, and you can only spend your time on so many things. And the best you can hope for is to try to eliminate the things that don't impact any of those 8, right? And one thing that's popping in my mind right now is, I don't know that scrolling Twitter helps me in any of those 8, right? Or looking at Instagram, or, I don't know, watching TV at night. I don't know that it helps me in any of those areas. So that kind of starts to think like, okay, how many hours of my day are spent not impacting those 8? And how do I say no to that stuff? How do I stop doing some of that stuff that's just comfort, that's just trying to take your mind away from things, and be more present on those 8?
So I'm going to ask you a follow-up question, but my kind of close on this particular part is this. Someone we care about deeply, Ken Glassmacher, we were talking about him in the beginning, and I interviewed with him. He's one of the main reasons. There's 3 people that kind of influenced my decision to move from Florida to Virginia, 28 years ago. And it was him. It was 2 other guys that you know pretty well. But the reason is I was in an interview with him, and I was talking about myself. It was an interview. And he asked a question about why do you think you're different, or what makes you, or something along those lines. And I said, I think I'm pretty self-aware. I'm not perfect. Everybody's got blind spots, but I try and take stock of what I do well and what I don't do well. And I try and listen to feedback. When you give me an assessment or any of those types of things, I really focus on that. And I'm a big believer in your natural strengths are going to become natural strengths. But if you can take your moderates and make them strengths, and if you can take your weaknesses and just get them to moderates, it can be a hell of a lot better performance in work, performance at home, all of those things. And it very much represents this wheel. If you have 0s and you have 10s, it's very, very bumpy. But if everything has a baseline of 6 or 7 and you have a couple of 8s, that's a pretty balanced life. And that is kind of what Ian was talking about. I think of almost everything in life as a tug of war. 0 to 10. Okay, let's get it to somewhere where it's maybe the margin of error is 2 points, maybe. So something along those lines, and that's fairly balanced. I don't know. That's how I kind of look at it. So my question for you, Ian, on this is, I know one of them. There's 8 slices of pie. If you were going to use this as something in your life or in your trainings, which would you keep and which would you change? Would you keep? I'll just go one by one. Would you keep career? Do you think that should be where it is?
Which of the 8 would I
either keep or change?
What would I change? I think I've already clearly stated that the attitude is goofy. I would just find a different word for that. And I don't know. Maybe I would change some of that, but I tend to think, I feel like attitude to me is superfluous. I think if my relationships are good, if my family's good, if my career is good, and my finance is good, of course my attitude is going to be better. That's kind of, I feel like that's a more of just an indicator of the other ones. So I might change that, but I don't know what I would add in. I don't know that this missed anything that kind of leads to my general happiness, because you've got personal growth there. So I think that's a good one. Something outside of your career that you are. So I always do the situational leadership when I talk to people. I'm going to do it with your managers as well. And I always find it sad when like the veteran, because I have them go back and say, okay, I want everyone to find one area of your life where you are in each one of these stages. And there are always a couple of people that are like,
can't do it.
I'm not really an excited beginner in anything. I'm pretty good at my job. And it's kind of like, And I'll say, all right, we're going to change that this week. That's sad. Like go learn Swahili. Go learn how to hit a 9-iron. Go take up tennis. Go read a book. Go like there's no good excuse on the planet for you to say that you're not a beginner at something. You should always be a beginner at something. And so I like the personal growth thing because I think to me, when I look at that slice, it's like, okay, where am I having the most personal growth right now? It could be in my business. I could be learning a lot. I've personally been learning a ton about AI. I'm getting a lot better at it, using it more and more and more in my business. And I find that fascinating and fun. But if you're ever stuck in a point in your life where you say your personal growth isn't high, that's on you. Go try something else. Go sign up for something. Go take something new. So I like that you have that in there. So that's my only knock on this whole wheel. I think the wheel's cool. I would figure something out on the attitude or just make this a 7 slice pie.
So there's two things I would do different. So the first one is something you mentioned. I feel as if I got into a rut in 2025 where I didn't read as much. I think I either read 9 or 11 books. I don't remember. That's the lowest number of books I've read in a year in probably 30 years since college. And I found myself looking at videos on, like, you and I used to send each other hundreds of news articles a week or a month from the Wall Street Journal. We almost exclusively send each other Twitter videos now. We don't send ourselves that. And I realized, like, the phone is robbing me of one of my favorite things, which is reading.
I just assume you already read the Wall Street Journal because you never sell me anything from the journal I haven't already seen.
Yeah, but we used to send each other articles or things, but now it's like funny videos. So what I'm trying to do, because I realize it doesn't serve me, and I feel like this is something that's coming for society as a whole, is I try and leave my phone downstairs, and I try and read in bed, and I try and talk to my wife a little bit more in bed before we fall asleep. And she goes to bed a little bit earlier than I do, so I'll read a little bit. But it's more gratifying, and I just realized I wasn't pushing myself the way that I had. The other thing, and it could be kind of a double-edged sword here. Maybe it's because it's the lowest, or maybe it's because I value it the least. But from a social life standpoint, for me, it's the wrong measure. If I was going to build this back, relationship to me really matter. As a 51-year-old person, I have a handful of great relationships that are the prize of my life, and I put a lot of value into those. Social life means a lot less to me, but I would replace that with experiences. Experiences to me is what I would measure. Like, Max asked me, like, literally for his 8th birthday, if we could go do an experience that we've done. Like, that is the kind of stuff that really, I think, gets really cool bonds across. This morning, Manny asked me to drive him to school, and I did. And he goes, "Dad, can we stop and do work on a project?" Like, I was like, yeah, we can stop and walk a house. Like, we could do that together. Like, that to me is the stuff that is so rich and rewarding. So important. Understand you should have some type of thing in your life where you could do scoring and you can be really honest. Second, build it for you, because it's going to roll wherever you want it to, because it's your life. So steer it. And that's my takeaway.
Yeah, I love that. That's about right, because I didn't know how to rate social life because mine's about right where I want it to be. Lame. So, that mattered to me a lot in my 20s and 30s, that I had lots of friends and we went out a lot and we had a lot of fun and I was always out. It means a lot less to me these days than it used to. And you're right, experience like travel. When I look at a year, I'm always like, okay, where are we going? What are we doing? What are the big things? But, Jenny and I just went to Tim Church, a week ago. It was a lot of fun. So, like, what are the things that every month we're looking at the calendar when we find time in between the kids' schedules? Where are we going? How do we get to New York again soon? Right? Where are we going to go? Are we going anywhere overseas this year? When am I getting back to Chicago? So I totally agree with all that.
That's fun thing for me is when you do it with your kids, right? So I'll tell 3 really quick stories. We went to the Bahamas in 2024 for Christmas, and we went and rode a bunch of water slides, and both my kids were too small, but they had a great time. In about August, Max asked me, "Hey, Dad, can we go back to the Bahamas again and ride the water slides?" I go, "Yeah, we can." Like, that's awesome to me. That was money well spent. Another one is both of my kids now, when they see a cityscape, they go, "Is that New York?" And the reason they ask me if it's New York is we just went to New York like 2 months ago, and they had an awesome time. And the last one is we're going to Spain this year. My kids are going for 5 weeks. I'm going for 3. And Max goes, "Oh, I didn't realize you were coming to Spain with us." He goes, "That's great. We can hang out." Like, that's what it's all about. Like, that to me is so valuable. And that's why family is so high. But again, if you're listening to this, you're most likely somebody who already knows these things about yourself, but sharing it with others, calibrating it over time, and making sure Steve Jobs has that famous saying from that commencement speech at Stanford. If you look yourself in the mirror enough days in a row and you're not doing what you want to do, you need to change it. This is a way to measure things within your life. Ian uses the Eisenhower grid. This is another tool. There's thousands of them. Just pick one, do it over time.
Love it. And if you are very impressed by Frank's work of taking us through this outline with zero prep from Ian Matthews or involvement, if you feel like this is one of the best episodes of this podcast you've ever heard, please let him know that in the comments, especially if you're listening on Apple. Give us a little 5-star review. Drop some comments and tell Frank, hey, you did a good job, big guy. Way to do some prep today.
Way to go, Frankie.
Mash that like button, mash that subscribe button. Maybe this was a good opportunity for you to finally start watching us on YouTube because there's 12 of you so far. We'd like to have a few more of you. So if you get a chance, this was a better episode even on YouTube. Start watching us over there too.
A lot of good podcasts have like 1 million subscriber on YouTube party. We should have like 100 subscriber on YouTube party.
Hey, we're at 512. So,
Okay, great. Maybe
don't shortchange us. But when we get to 1,000, we're cracking open one of my good French bottles.
I'm in.
Frankie, good to see you, buddy. Great job today.
See you, buddy.